Ah, sweet, you still had copies. Here you are, my man, just ring me up whenever. Okay, look, with how frequently I've referenced them and used them for B-roll, it's safe to assume I'm a big fan of Dance Gavin Dance. I listened to a lot of post-hardcore over the years, and out of all of them, Dance Gavin Dance is probably my favorite band of them all. I've said it before and I'll say it again. My favorite artists are the ones that bring variety, and well, DGD, in my opinion, has one of the most diverse catalogs out there. And yeah, like any other band, there are releases that are weaker than others, but absolutely none I would call bad or even eh. And that's impressive because personnel changes in this band have been more concerningly frequent than my relationships. It is absolutely accurate to say that this band has gone through a lot of different eras, with new singers and styles incorporated, making each very distinctive from one another. With 11 albums and a bunch of singles, I can only imagine how tough it is for the band to craft a setlist that they feel is sure to please all their fans. But damn it if they don't at least try. As of the making of this video, Dance Gavin Dance has just released their latest live album, Tree City Sessions 3. As the name implies, this is the latest in a series of live albums the band has been releasing since as far back as 2016. And this is also going to be the first live album recorded with their newest vocalist, Andrew Wells. Interestingly enough, beforehand he was a guitarist and backup vocalist during the last one. He's been doing leads for about 2 years, and now that he's got at least a whole album out with DGD, I'm comfortable to say that I think he's doing a good job. He has to capture the cadence of 3 very different singers, and I think he does about as good as you can do while still bringing a lot of his own qualities as well. All of this to say, I'm just super excited for this. My roommate and I are also going to see them live the week after the release too, so I'm just in a very big Dance Gavin Dance mood. So I decided I'm going to have a little bit of fun with this video and run with a simple idea. My friends and I love to talk about our dream set list for our favorite bands or just the songs we really want to hear live. So for this video, I'm asking myself, if I had complete control over the set list, what would I pick? Firstly though, I do want to say I have some conditions for myself with this list. Instead of just going over my favorite DGD songs, I actually want to structure this like it were to be used for a real concert. Like the set list of all the Tree City sessions, I want to properly represent every era of Dance Gavin Dance, but like everyone else, I have my favorites. But I at least want to be considerate of all this band has offered throughout the years. And I'm limiting my list to 12 songs. That I feel is just about the sweet spot for a concert or live album. Even though there are a ton of songs I could choose, I don't want to hypothetically put the band through a fucking ringer with a 20-song set list. So let's just get straight into our opening track, and for me, I'm picking Animal Surgery, the opening track of Pantheon. Now, as I've just said, I've been liking Andrew as a vocalist so far. Despite the opinions of some of my colleagues, I thought Pantheon was a really solid album. I was enjoying the singles leading up to its release, and the 2 songs that they released in 2024 when he first joined were also pretty good. Though, to be honest, out of all of it, there hasn't been too much that really wowed me compared to the band's previous material. But again, that's not really a knock on Andrew. This is his first and only album with the band so far, and I don't have the literal years of emotional connection to it as I do their other material. And while I said that most has not been profoundly impactful on me, that doesn't mean all of it. Animal Surgery is that song that did wow me, and that is easily my favorite Andrew song so far. And you know what? A good part of my decision is because it was such a great opening track. The slow buildup that immediately jumps into John screaming and the chuggy guitar riff actually took me out on my first listen. Andrew's chorus is also just super catchy, and overall, it just has this really high energy that made me want to let loose. It perfectly did its job because it made me look forward to the entire rest of the album. And even after having listened to this album start to finish more than dozens of times since, this is still my favorite track off of it. If there is a song to just kick things off and get me in the mood for Dance Gavin Dance, it's Animal Surgery. Also, yeah, expect this guy later on in the video. Now for our follow-up, I am going with Chocolate Jackalope off of Mothership. Now, I'm going to take this as an opportunity to give some context. This was my first DGD album. A friend introduced me to them with this, and while it took a second for it to really sink in for me, I was enjoying it enough to not only stick with it, but inevitably just dive into the rest of the catalog, resulting in the hyperfixation, borderline obsession I now have with them to this day. So there are some real contenders throughout this entire album, among them Chocolate Jackalope. I wouldn't call it my favorite off the album, but the thing about this song is that it is just a fun listen. There's a lot of angst found throughout DGD's lyrics, and while there are some here as well, this mostly is a song I put on just to listen to all the funny, crazy dynamics that the song shifts between. And speaking of lyrics, this song quite possibly has one of the hardest lines I have ever heard, not just from Dance Gavin Dance, but in all of music in general. I couldn't face the fact that my ass ain't a plaque, there's a wall and my behind is not there. I can't wait to tap into the brain of my cat and let him know he's my whittle baby meow meow boo. Fucking peak right there. Alright, we got a song from Andrew and we got a song from Tillian, so I'm going to now include a Kurt Travis song for my third track, and my choice is Strawberry Swisher Part 2. While I mentioned that I was introduced to DGD during the Tillian era, Kurt is my favorite of the band's clean vocalists, and has been for a very long time. Not only do I just find his voice the most pleasing to me in general, but the 2 albums he did with them encompass basically all the band's qualities I appreciate the most. I promise that Death Star will be coming up in this video, but for now, we're just focusing on the second album, Happiness, and arguably one of the more distinctive DGD albums in general. Compared to the rest of their catalog, this is much more of a funkier, jazzier take on conventional emo music. They've done funk songs well after this album, but whereas those feel just more like straight funk, the songs off Happiness are, in contrast, a very seamless combination of funk and post-hardcore. Strawberry Swisher 2 being a good representation of that. Part 1 is also on the album, and while I like that one too, I just prefer the faster tempo, higher energy Part 2 gives. Seriously, for me, this is like listening to the music from Persona, which, if it isn't clear right now, I very much enjoy. I guess now I'll start talking about placements a bit, like why is this specifically the third track? I'll admit that some placements are going to be a little bit inconsequential. Something that I'm taking into consideration in general is the moods and emotions I want to feel throughout the set list. You know, just like the soundtrack of the 10 out of 10 indie game mixtape. So if number 1 and 2 were to pretty much set the mood and get me hooked, I want the next songs I pick to be the ones I can move to and chill to simultaneously. I might go in the pit during some parts, but I also wouldn't mind just standing still and taking the song in, and in that regard, Strawberry Swisher 2 Part 2 delivers. And moving on to number 4, we're rocking Meringue Tie from Downtown Battle Mountain. With this, we have officially got at least one song from every clean vocalist. Johnny Craig's albums are my roommate's all-time favorites, so I definitely got to make sure I include them somewhere. Both of the Battle Mountain albums are pretty good, but I think I like one more than 2. But between the 2 of them, Meringue Tie is probably just my favorite song from Johnny Craig in general. The back and forth between him and John Mess are really well done, especially during the chorus. John Mess's harshes also just have more of a death growl sound overall, which I always found very endearing. It's just a very catchy song that I love playing over and over and over and over and over. And over and over and over. Coming in at number 5, we got is one of, if not the heaviest DGD song, Carve, off Acceptance Speech. If Mothership was my introduction to DGD, Acceptance Speech solidified my love for DGD. Again, there's a lot of songs here that I would happily include, but the one that left the biggest impression on me, even on that first listen, was Carve. I've always just preferred heavier music in general, and I would say that this was the first DGD song I really fell in love with. John Mess takes lead for most of it, and combined with riffs that honestly sound more like metalcore, is it really any surprise? Hearing it live in general has also been kind of interesting. Back when Tillian was the lead singer, Will Swan would provide some of the harshes just to make it easier on John. It was cool then, but not long after Andrew joined, the song was added back to the live rotation, and I feel he does a better job just matching the sound on the studio track. If we ever do get this song in a future live album, I think it would just sound really great. Ooh, we finally get to talk about Afterburner. Okay, from what I've seen online, people seem to typically rank this among the weaker albums, but I gotta be honest, I have never understood that. Ever since it dropped, I have always been quick to come back to it, and that's before I got the vinyl here. Okay, totally transparent. I just got my first record player last year, and not long after, my friend Paul and I were shopping for records on my birthday, and this was literally the only DGD album they had in the store. But as you can see here, I was not complaining. By the way, just got a record player, and 2 of my first albums are Dance Gavin Dance and Converge. Only the essentials here. Holding one of them upside down like a complete dumbass too, but I digress. The song off this album that pretty much solidified me keeping it in my rotation was 3 Wishes. Will Swan is an absolute god on guitar, but man, if Tim Furyk is not just also an amazing bass player with some awesome riffs under his belt. Beyond that, kind of like Strawberry Swisher 2, this is just the song I like to put on and just lose myself to. It genuinely surprises me that this song isn't talked about that much. As far as I'm aware, it hasn't even been performed live. If there was one song I'd urge any of you to give a listen, it's this one. And while you're at it, maybe just try the whole album out too. It definitely has a more poppier sound than other albums, but I kind of welcome it. It's a nice change of pace, and overall, both of them are just something I could put on and just chill with as I go about my day. I told myself I'd get both Downtown Battle Mountains and this to keep my roommate from finally deciding to strangle me in my sleep, so I'm grabbing my favorite song off too, Privilously Poncheezied, not saying the name out loud again. If you ask my roommate, this is his favorite Dance Gavin Dance song. And it's not hard to see why. Johnny Craig's vocals and Will Swan's riffs are just both perfect, especially during the chorus. Also, it was around this album when John Mess's lyrics just started having a lot more of that goofier charm we all know and love, and we got this beautiful gem of a lyric. You got that ostrich beak that's lowering your skill and sneak. This is probably the nerdiest thing I will say in this whole video, but I am convinced that that's gotta be some Bethesda reference, because there is an honest-to-God video of the band playing Fallout on their tour bus. Crossing off Mike's favorite DGD song, I'm now going to include mine, which is the amazing Alex English off Death Star. We get to finally talk about Death Star. I already said that Kurt Travis was my favorite era, but there is just something very unique about his tenure with the band that I haven't mentioned yet. Between the makings of Death Star and Happiness, harsh vocalist John Mess had to temporarily leave the band after developing lupus, and it was decided that Will Swan would replace him on harsh vocals. So when comparing the two, Death Star just overall features a lot more harsh vocals throughout the whole thing, and it's because of that it's my favorite of the two. This was also early enough in their career that John's harshes still had that death growl quality to them, but definitely came through a lot clearer than on Downtown Battle Mountain. I love Kurt's cleans, but John is easily the main reason I love this song so much. His vocal delivery just plays off so well with the instruments, especially when they get heavier on the melodies. Just have one point, and this is definitely a nitpick, but if this were in the context of a live performance, I do hope he could pull off the line, reciting words I didn't write. In most live recordings I've found, he goes straight into the next verse, "You Want a Piece of My Mind," even on the very first Tree City sessions, which already featured Alex English. I get it if it's just a bit too tough to hit live, but I would love to hear it if it's possible. It's a hard line on its own, and honestly, I've always felt skipping it made the live version just sound a little bit awkward. For number 9, I'm going with Betrayed by the Game. This is my favorite song with Tillian's vocals, and the opening riff will never not get me amped up. Just another song that has every piece working so well with each other, and I'm positive it will never fail to get a crowd excited. We're at number 10 now, so we're pretty close to the end of our set list, and for this slot, I'm going with the DGD song that will always make me feel the most emotional. Happiness's title track. For as funk-heavy as the rest of this album is, this is probably the most straightforward, emo, post-hardcore song found within it, with instrumentals that are just overall much more somber and melancholic. This is also the song that arguably has my favorite vocals from Kurt ever. He did such a great job, and it's so good that it's a fucking coin flip if I start bursting into tears when the chorus kicks in. Also, I mentioned that Will Swan had to do harsh vocals on this album, and while they don't come in till the very end, I did want to have them somewhere, as there aren't any on Swisher 2. He honestly didn't do a bad job at all, and just the fact that he's able to pull it off while playing the stuff that he has to play will always be impressive to me. Penultimate song right here, and we're going with Count Basie off Artificial Selection. Just like some of my other choices, this is just one of those songs I like to put on and just disassociate. But something I feel this song in particular has over the other ones is just being a lot more atmospheric. Tillian's vocals work very well on this song, especially on the chorus, and I also just love the ending of the song too. Tim Furyk gives a super groovy bass line, while Tillian replicates the rhythm with his vocals. To describe the feeling, it's like having the joint after sex and then the two of you just comfortably fall asleep in each other's arms. That's seriously the type of feeling that this invokes in me. And for the final song in this set list, we're going back to Death Star, as I'm picking Burning Down the Nicotine Armoire Part 2. So, this is the last bit of personal history I'll mention, but when I did get into the band and started going over their past albums, I got to Kurt's time before Johnny's, and I wasn't aware of all the drama and turnaround involving their lead singers right away. So just imagine my surprise when I was hearing a singer that was so clearly not Tillian. But I kept going anyway, and the further I went, the more I didn't mind it. And while I said that Alex English is my favorite, that wasn't always the case. On that first listen, and for a good while afterwards, that honor went to Nicotine Armoire Part 2. Part 1 is really good, it's even included in the new Tree City sessions, but I pretty much fell in love with Part 2 right from the get-go, and it served as the catalyst for why Kurt Travis would become my favorite of the clean vocalists. Beyond that, the instruments were just very catchy, especially the bass line, and I will always love the layering of the clean and harsh vocals in the chorus. To me, the song also just has a very climactic sound to it. If this was to be the last song in the set list, this would be when I pretty much let out all my remaining energy as I take it in. And with that, we have now finished up our list. You actually think that's the end? Bitch, have you ever been to a real concert? We almost always get an encore. Yeah, plot twist, people. We got 2 more to complete this dream concert of mine, and for number 13, we got Awkward. Easily my favorite song of instant gratification. That's probably one of my favorite instrumentals in general, and you know what? This point is gonna sound a little bit corny, but I fucking love the lyrics of this song. They detail pushing forward, trying to carve out a name for yourself despite all the frustrations and pushbacks that come your way, and just having the drive and discipline to keep going despite it all. As someone who's trying to make it as a musician and as a creator, it's that song I've only identified with more as I get older. When I inevitably leave this horrible speck of dirt we call a planet, I want to go knowing I did some good entertaining people and giving them just something to comfort them, the same way the creators that I follow have given me. It's the song to put on to keep yourself going, even when things get tough, and I will always love it for that. And lastly, the true final song in my dream DGD concert is Turn Off the Lights, I'm Watching Back to the Future 1. This is the one for all the fans. It's just such an amazing song. If Meringue Tie is my favorite Johnny song, this is a close second. Kind of like what I was saying with Nicotine Armoire 2, this just has such a climactic feel to it. Also, looking back, I realized I only included 2 Johnny Craig songs, so hopefully this keeps the Johnny stands from arming up. Joking aside, this is also, in my opinion, one of those songs that are both a bit of a deep cut, but still something that will for sure be appreciated by fans, which is kind of the feeling I want to have with an encore. And with that, we have now completed our dream set list. If you have made it to the end of this video, I want to thank you for your time. With how much quality music these guys have put out over the span of 20 years now, it is tough to pick out just 14 songs that cover about all of it. These guys are one of my favorite acts of all time, and with every song I picked, there's like dozens of others I would be more than happy with. Just goes to show just how amazing they are. And because this is the internet and people love to bitch, I knew going in that people are just going to disagree with me no matter what I picked. So instead of wasting time and effort writing your student thesis about why I'm wrong, I'm gonna ask you instead put that effort into commenting what songs you would love to hear live, or what your favorite DGD songs are in general. I always get excited with every new release these guys bring out, and I just know Mike and I are gonna have a great time seeing them next week. As always, if you did enjoy the video, please like it, hype it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. Be sure to also check out my band Final Accord on Spotify and Apple Music. We got some songs out, we're working on some new ones right now, but we always just love to hear what you guys have to say. And until next time, take care.